at, am I susceptible to conspiracy theories? So this includes myself, you, and everybody else. So if I ask you that question, let us talk about if we are, how susceptible are we to conspiracy theories?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first reaction that we would all have is to say that, no, I'm not susceptible to conspiracy theories. But we should pause and think about it again. Because is there anybody who would actually answer with a yes, that I am susceptible to conspiracy theories? So I think the first thing we have to do is we have to accept and admit that I am susceptible to conspiracy theories. But it's not that it happens just in one day. It doesn't happen overnight, but there is a process that happens. Conspiracy theories and believing in them is like one of the more extreme stages of misinformation. But it starts with being overly comfortable in a safe space, in wanting to be around others who agree with us and not wanting to be uncomfortable with opinions that challenge us. So this is the first place where it starts. Now, of course, it's perfectly natural. It's understandable. All of us want to have that sort of space, safe space. We want to be around like-minded people. That's okay. But when we start going in the wrong direction is when we become too comfortable, when we're not comfortable with having our opinions challenged in a way that improves critical thinking, improves diversity of thought. So when we become too comfortable, that's when we start to come in to an echo chamber. We want to hear things that reinforce opinions that we already hold. There also, that desire to hear things reinforced leads to misinformation. We don't become as critical of information that already reinforces what we agree in because it makes us feel good. Our emotions, our biases get overly involved. And that eventually leads to conspiracy theories. You know, conspiracy theories are a more extreme manifestation of the general misinformation that a lot of times you and me are susceptible to. So, of course, when we ask this question that, am I susceptible to conspiracy theories? We're all going to say no, but nobody starts with conspiracy theories. The first thing we should ask ourselves is that, am I too comfortable in my safe space? Do I enjoy the echo chamber to a degree where I I make myself vulnerable to misinformation? Because if that's true, then yes, I am vulnerable and I could already believe in some conspiracy theories. I am definitely susceptible and vulnerable.
Zon, that's actually interesting that you bring that up, because these echo chambers, these are by design. This is a very new phenomenon just recently because of internet, because of social media, that these companies have decided, companies such as Google, have decided to give us news not as news, but as a product. And because of this, the easiest way would be to give us the news that we want to hear. Like you said, like-minded people. We want to hear the stuff that we want to hear. So we've been put into these echo chambers as echo chambers as a business model. And because of this business model, these companies want to continuously sell us something, sell us either the news itself or further down the line, sell us something else. And so what that has resulted in is that to keep us engaged, as you can see that many of us have been, also rewired into the way we think. We want something new, something that's, novel, so that we can stay engaged. Otherwise, we would leave this echo chamber and go to another one. So what has ended up happening is that to keep us entertained, these companies have continuously fed us new and exotic things, and it's gotten weirder and more based on clickbait, as opposed to being based on actual information that we need to know and consume. And that's, I think, one of the critical issues here.
And I think the dangerous thing here is, I don't know if I should call it dangerous, but I would say the critical thing here that we need to highlight is the information that we get. And both of you mentioned it. I just wanted to reiterate, is based on your, say, browsing history. You could be watching a video on YouTube. We all experience that. You're watching one video, before you know it, there's recommended. What does that even mean? And you know that you want to click on that, right? It's like, yeah, I think I'll watch the next one. A lot of people will tell you, I wanted to be on the phone for 5 minutes. I ended up being there for 20 minutes. I have my brother-in-law, all he watches is CNN. And I tell him, dude, you're brainwashed. And he's like, no, I'm not. But anything that the news media that he listens to, he finds himself what we are calling the echo chamber. But the funny thing is, or the interesting thing is, you don't realize it. It's only at a certain point when you check and say, you know what, it's true. I'm subscribing to everything that my news channel is saying. Or this host that I like the way he talks, I like the way he presents, and you're likely to accept everything that he says, or whatever celebrity that you follow. And we find ourselves in that group, which we are calling an echo chamber, and you're likely to just fall for anything. You'll feel like you're loyal to that. And that, to a degree, is not your fault. but it's the way the information is being pushed on you. That's what makes it very dangerous. And I would say we are susceptible to that. I don't know what you guys think, but I think we are based on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was actually going to jump in. I was going to say, Dibas of susceptibility itself is a fact of life. If you think about it, even the Holy Quran speaks about this idea of influence. It speaks about ruhamau bainahum and then ashiddau lil kufar. And one of the commentaries about this particular verse is that there are two kinds of influences. There's influence that you set on other people, and then there's influence that you accept from other people. And what the Holy Quran is basically telling us is that when you have that free exchange of influence, keep in mind that those influences that are of high moral standard, yeah, you can accept those. But those influences that are based on falsities or full of doubt, then those are the ones that you should resist. And I think that's the critical point here. Even the Holy Quran talks about the idea of being susceptible to one way or the other, or information or influence.
Yeah, and definitely, it's a two-way street. So, we're talking about how there's different companies and news organizations that profit off of our being misinformed, of feeding us misinformation. But also we as consumers have to take responsibility at a certain point as well, because from a certain perspective, our politicians are not really our leaders. They follow us. They take cues from us. And of course, the same thing applies to businesses, that whatever the advertisers say and wherever we put our money, where we click, that's what they're going to, obviously they're going to want to attract that attention of ours. So in a way that the reality is that they're following us. Now, maybe this is a vicious cycle, that it's kind of a two-way thing, that we've both been kind of spiraling downwards, the media and the government, and also us and our taste. But we have to admit that our tastes have changed over the last 20, 30, 40 years. If you look back at the way the news was presented 20, 30 years ago, the seriousness and the integrity with which it was presented, and now today, and how it's become so polarized, so kind of toxic in a way, presidential debates as well. So at a certain point, it comes back to us. So this is why Islam teaches, the Holy Quran teaches, that when you choose leaders, choose those who are worthy of that leadership. When you choose sources of information, then value honesty. When you have people who are prominent in society, then value character. Because when we do these things, then that means that our tastes are correct, and then our leadership will be good as well. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him, talked about this as well, of how when a people become corrupted, then they get the leaders that they deserve. So, it is a vicious cycle. It is a back and forth. And that's kind of what leads to misinformation. And then eventually people who peddle conspiracy theories, who in a normal, healthy society would just be in the fringes and would be crazy people. Now they're some of the most influential people in our society.